useful. So now we're going to read from chapter 2 of part 2. Gopkumar stayed in Mathura for some time. Why did Gopkumar go back to Mathura? Because he was missing Vrindavan. But at the same time, he was not feeling like leaving Lord Jagannath. You all remember how Gopkumar became the king of Jagannath Puri? Yes, Raghuveer Prabhu. Yeah. But the king had other sons. Still, why Gopkumar was selected? That's No. You see, the custom is, in the presence of elder brother, the younger brother cannot become the king. Actually, that, I don't think I mentioned that point here. Anyway, just for your information. It's the custom that in the presence of the elder brother, the younger brother cannot become the king. So when the eldest brother renounced, the younger brothers couldn't become the king. So they had to look for a king out somewhere else. And they found Gopkumar. So they made him the king.
But it says here, first he accepted the kingdom somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then later, while he was the king there, he was
Also, yeah. So, no. He was accepted by the ministers, by the learned people of the state. So this way we see one very unique characteristic, unique quality in Gopkumar, is that he is completely renounced. It's not that he was renouncing position. When some position came to him, he did not renounce the position, but he maintained a mood of renunciation. Internally he was renounced, and he was accepting positions, various positions for the sake of his service to Krishna. Therefore we see, although he left Vrindavan because he felt that in Vrindavan his sadhana, his chanting of the mantra was being hindered due to his acquaintances and his friends, and he left Vrindavan. But then he started to live in the temple just like any ordinary sadhu who lives in a temple. He was eating Mahaprasad and sleeping in some corner of the temple. And he was happy. He was happy being like that. But then when they wanted him to become a king, he didn't refuse. He accepted the position of the king. But why did he accept it? In this way, Sanatana Goswami is establishing the principle of Vairagya, or renunciation. There are two types of renunciation. Falgu Vairagya and Yukta Vairagya. Falgu Vairagya means false renunciation. And Yukta Vairagya means renunciation in the middle of apparent material attachment. So he accepted the position of a king. But why did he accept it? For his own enjoyment? No. As far as sense gratification was concerned, he was completely renounced. He was not at all interested in women. He was not at all interested in money and position. That's one of the very important characteristics in Gopkumar to note, that wherever we go, he went, especially in this chapter, second chapter, we'll see that he is not at all interested in women. So this is a very important thing, very important quality of a devotee. Because why Sanatana Goswami is emphasizing that he is not interested in women? Because all material enjoyment ultimately culminates into this one point: sex desire. And a person who has been able to conquer that, he has become free from material. Prabhupada once explained that this material nature is the prison house of sex desire. In ordinary prison, people are chained down by chains, iron chains, or with big or high walls. But in this material nature, how everyone is chained down, how everyone is tied down? Sex desire. And as long as one has that sex desire, he can never become free from this material world. So Gopkumar is completely renounced from the very beginning of his spiritual life. And he is taking the responsibilities. He went, even accepted the position of Brahma, the most responsible position that a living entity can get in this material universe, in this material nature. Most responsible position is the position of Brahma. But Gopkumar is completely renounced. I mean, he accepted the position, but he was not at all affected by it. As I was mentioning, like he became a king in that country, but then he gave up his position as a king. He became a wandering mendicant and renounced his kingdom just in order to see Lord Jagannath. And when he went to Jagannath Puri, there again he started to live like a renounced mendicant, renounced sadhu, living in the temple, just taking some Mahaprasad and eating anywhere and everywhere. Whenever he felt tired at night, he just sat down, he just laid down and went to sleep. Otherwise, rest of the time, he was absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And then, when he was in Jagannath Puri, he started to miss Vrindavan, Mathura. But at the same time, he couldn't give up the service to Lord Jagannath. So when Lord Jagannath saw that he was in a dilemma, then Jagannath actually appeared to him in a dream and told him, if you want to go to Mathura, go there. Because Mathura is non-different from Jagannath Puri. Mathura is my birthplace. So this place and Mathura both are my residence. So if you want, please go to Mathura. And so Gopkumar left for Mathura. Gopkumar stayed at Mathura for some time. Then he left for Nilachal in order to see Lord Jagannath. After staying in Mathura for some time, he started to feel the separation from Lord Jagannath. He decided to go back to Jagannath Puri again. And on the way, he met some saintly persons who told him about Indra and how Indra is the king of heaven and how Vamanadev directly accepts worship from Indra and how Vamanadev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, became the younger brother of Indra. And he heard that how opulently Sri Vamandev or Upendra means junior Indra, junior to Indra. Indra is the younger brother. Is worshipped in heaven. Due to the potency of the mantra, a spaceship arrived to take him to heaven. This is the thing about Gopkumar. Gopkumar, as he would chant the mantra, whatever desire he had within his heart, with the potency of the mantra, that desire would be fulfilled. So this is how mantra is like desire tree or like a touchstone. Fulfills all desires. Nama Chintamani Krishna. Chaitanya Rasha Vidva. So the mantra can fulfill any desire. And we notice, like, often things happen to us and we wonder, well, I didn't really want it. But then, deep within our heart, we see that there was some desire in the heart. And we have to understand, because of the chanting of the mantra, our desires are being fulfilled. So this is actually a progressive march towards the spiritual goal. Krishna will fulfill our desires. Devotees will go through various experiences in his life. But we have to understand that whatever we are going through in our spiritual life is actually to bring us to the ultimate spiritual platform, the lotus feet of Krishna in Vrindavan. A spaceship came and Gopkumar was taken to Indraloka. Just as he desired, the spaceship came and he went to Indraloka. And in Indraloka, he saw how Indra was worshipping Vamandev, and Vamandev was accepting the worship of Indra. From Indra's hand, Vamandev would directly accept his offering. And Vamandev would reciprocate in a very, very affectionate way, very wonderfully with Indra and other demigods. And Gopkumar was extremely happy to see that. So, and in the meantime, Indra disappeared from heaven due to the fear of a curse of a Brahmana. Indra sometimes does something wrong. He commits some offense and then he gets cursed. Actually, Indra, although he's in the heavenly planet, he's the king of the demigods, but that region is full of enjoyment, and therefore the people are the residents of heaven have lusty desires. Indra becomes very lusty at times, and not only Indra, many demigods often become lusty and they molest some Brahmana's wife or does something, and as a result of that they get cursed. So lust, greed, anger are present even in heavenly planet. So that's the irony of being elevated to the heavenly planet. Like one becomes elevated by controlling his senses, but when one goes there, he becomes involved in sense gratification. It's like a miser with taking great pain, he saves his money. Or better would be like people in the West. And throughout the year, they work hard and save their money. And then they go to some country during summer, and they spend everything. There is a joke in Italy. They say that in Italy no one works throughout the year. They let the Germans work for them throughout the year. Then during the summertime, the Germans come to Italy and they take all the money from there. So they themselves don't work. And so this is how the materialistic people are. They would go through various kinds of austerities and penances for a period of time to get some sort of enjoyment in exchange of that austerity. So one undergoes various kinds of penances and austerities on the earth planet. Then they get elevated to a heavenly planet. And in heavenly planet, they indulge in all kinds of sense gratifying activities. Actually, heaven is full of sense gratification. Heaven means, generally, the Karma Kanda section allures one to go to heaven with the prospect of long life, long healthy life, no old age, disease, and have a lot of fun with the apsaras, the most beautiful girls, and drink somaras and spend your time. It's a long leisure, a long holiday for them. But khine punne marta lokam vishanti. When their piety is exhausted, then they fall down to the earth planet. Just like when his money is finished, then the German tourists have to leave Italy and go back to Germany. So Indra disappeared due to the fear of a curse of a Brahmana. And then Brihaspati and other senior members of heavenly planet. Brihaspati is the guru of the demigod. So they decided that Gopkumar should take up the position of Indra. Because without Indra, the heavenly planet was going through a lot of difficulties. So they made Gopkumar Indra. So here also we can understand that sometime Gopkumar actually did desire to become Indra. He did desire to become Indra or become like Indra. But why? He actually wanted to experience the joy of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Indra was doing. So his desire is all Krishna conscious. All his desires are Krishna conscious. But when although he became the king of heaven, he did not stay in the palace. He used to stay in the Nandan Kanan garden as a mendicant. He did not have any desire for sense enjoyment. In spite of being in heaven, he could not forget Vrindavan, Upendra consoled him whenever he felt sad. Sometimes Gopkumar would miss Vrindavan. Actually, this is the unique aspect of Vrindavan. Although Gopkumar at that time did not know that Vrindavan is actually the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Holy Dham, he used to think that it was his childhood attachment. Because he was brought up in Vrindavan with his friends, he was naturally attracted to Vrindavan. But we know that Gopkumar's attachment and his feeling of separation from Vrindavan is due to his attachment to Gopal, Krishna. Also, here in this chapter it has been mentioned how Gopkumar was not at all interested in sense gratification. Like he did not stay in the palace of Indra, he stayed in the Nandankanan garden. And although he was Indra, but he was leading a very, very simple life. He did not indulge in any kind of sense gratification. He respected Indra's wife, Sachi, with just like his own mother. Matrivat Parudareshu, that's the Vedic injunction that others' wives should be treated as mothers. So Gopkumar used to treat Sachi Devi. Indra's wife is extremely, exquisitely beautiful. And being Indra, he could have developed the desire to enjoy Sachi, but he did not do that. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes somebody other than Indra becomes Indra, gets into a position. Like one example is Nahush. Are you familiar with Nahush, King Nahush? Nahusha, he was a great warrior and a very pious king and very renounced. Very, very renounced. And he became very famous by killing a demon called Tunda. And then when at one time Indra was hiding under the ocean after killing Vritrasura, heavenly planet was devoid of Indra. So they made Nahush Indra. Nahush became Indra. But although he was so detached, when he was on the earth planet, but when he went to heaven, he started to develop lusty desires, and he wanted to marry Sachi. And Brihaspati and other demigods advised him not to do that because it's a sin to indulge with somebody else's wife. And then Sachi took shelter of Brihaspati and said that he wants me to marry him. So what to do? And Sachi is actually very chaste. A few ladies, Satish, Savitri, Sachi, they are the leading of the chaste women. Sachi is very, very chaste. Sati, Savitri, Sachi, Tulasi, they are actually very historically famous for their chastity. And Sachi asked Brihaspati for how to protect herself from this threat. Then Brihaspati said, okay, when he comes, you tell him that you will marry him on one condition, that he'll have to come to you being carried in a palanquin by the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas have to carry the palanquin. And so Nahush got the Brahmanas, all the sages, to carry his palanquin. And he was coming to Sachi's palace and to marry her. And in the meantime, they started there was some controversy on some mantras, and they got into an argument, and out of pride, he lost himself, and he touched Agastha with his feet. He kicked Agastha. And Agastha said, okay, you become a snake. He was cursed to become a snake. And then he begged Agastha, please save me. Then Agastha said, okay, if Yudhishthira comes, and by his mercy, you will be delivered. And so one day, when the Pandavas were in the forest, this one great python, one huge python, actually attacked Bhima. And although Bhima was so powerful, he couldn't do anything against the python. And he coiled Bhima around. Bhima was helpless. Bhima was dying. So then Yudhishthira came and he tried to rescue Bhima. Then the python spoke up. He said, "You can't save Bhima unless you answer my question." So then Yudhishthira agreed, and Nahush asked the question, "What are the qualities of a Brahman?" And Yudhishthira replied. Then there were some other questions. Another question was that is whether the position of a Brahman is by birth or by qualifications. And Yudhishthira Maharaj explained that it was by qualification. And even if someone is born in the family of a Sudra, but if he develops the qualities of a Brahmana, then he should be recognized as a Brahmana. So then Nahush, that python, released Bhima, being satisfied with Yudhishthira's answer. And he himself also got released from the curse. So in this way we can see like how dangerous lusty desires are. Lust blinds one. Kamat krodho vijayate. Lust breeds frustration. Frustration breeds anger. And anger blinds one. One loses himself completely. So in this way, time and time again in the Vedic scriptures, it has been pointed out that one must conquer lust in order to make spiritual advancement. Point C. When Upendra used to disappear from heaven, Gopkumar wanted to go to Nilachal to see Lord Jagannath, because Jagannath never leaves Nilachal. But whenever he thought like that, Upendra would come back and console him. D. He stayed in heaven as the king for one celestial year. He stayed in heavenly planet for one celestial year. In heaven, he met great sages like Bhrigu. He also got to know about Maharloka from Brihaspati. One day actually Gopkumar saw some very powerful personalities arrive to the heavenly planets, and even Brihaspati offered obeisances to them. And these personalities were so powerful that they looked like they were brilliant as the sun. And so Gopkumar wondered who this personality was. And then he was told that they were actually the residents of Maharloka, headed by Bhrigu. They came there. So Gopkumar inquired further about Maharloka. What is Maharloka? What do they do there? And then they said that in Maharloka they perform fire sacrifice. And from the fire sacrifice, Yogeshwar, Vishnu, comes out and he accepts their offerings and he gives them gifts. And this way, there is a direct exchange between the performers of the sacrifice and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So naturally, Gopkumar became curious to go there. And what happened? As he chanted, he was elevated to Mahaloka. It was due to the influence of chanting the mantra that he was elevated there. Although the sages requested him to become a Brahmana, he refused. He received the opportunity to serve Yogeshwar. At the end of Brahma's day, 3 worlds up to heaven were destroyed. At that time, he went to Jnana and got to see Sanat Kumar. At the end of Brahma's day, there is an annihilation. And the fire of annihilation destroys up to heavenly planets. All the earth planet up to, all the lower planets up to heavenly planet gets destroyed at the day of Brahma, when Brahma falls asleep. But the higher upper planetary systems like Jnana, Tapaloka, Maharloka, Jnana, Tapaloka and Satyaloka, they remain intact. But the heat of that fire reaches Maharloka. That fire of devastation is so blazing that the heat reaches even up to Maharloka. And at that time, the residents of Maharloka leave Maharloka and go to Jnana. And then in Jnanaloka he met Sanat Kumar. And he wondered who this personality was. And he got to know that he was one of the 4 Kumars. And he came from Tapaloka. So he wanted to go to Tapaloka. And he went to Tapaloka. He was elevated to Tapaloka by the potency of his mantra. He saw the 4 Kumars in Tapaloka. He never gave up the chanting of the mantra. Once he desired to go to Nilachal to see Lord Jagannath, but sage Pippalayan understood his mind and dissuaded him by saying, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is beyond sense perception. Therefore, he should not try to perceive him with his eyes. He should fix his mind in meditation, and then in trance, he would be able to see the Lord within and without. Ultimate perception is through the mind. Dhruva and Prahlad's perception of the Lord was possible through knowledge. Yet, they still felt they saw him with their own eyes, not saved. Madan mountain to meet Lord Naranarayan, whom they always see in their mind's eyes. As Gopkumar was about to go there, the 4 Kumaras showed him various forms of the Lord. When Gopkumar was about to leave Tapaloka, the 4 Kumaras showed him various forms of the Lord, as if he was seeing the Lord face to face due to their mercy. Then once Brahma arrived in Tapaloka, from the 4 Kumaras he got to know the facts about Brahma and Satyaloka. Gopkumar then went to Satyaloka and he saw Mahapurusha. Lakshmi Devi treated Gopkumar very affectionately. He saw how at the end of the day of Brahma, the 3 worlds become destroyed. Once Brahma disappeared from Satyaloka due to fear of a demon, and Gopkumar attained the position of Brahma. So in Satyaloka also Gopkumar became Brahma. When the position became vacant, Gopkumar became Brahma. The Shrutis describe the important facts about liberation and devotion. So when he was a Brahma, one day different Shrutis, actually in Satyaloka, different Shrutis are present as different personalities. They are personified. Actually, Brahma gave the Vedas to different individual sages. And the Vedas are actually their expansion. They are actually sages residing in Brahmaloka, and one day they were having a discussion about liberation and devotion. Some said liberation is higher, some said no, devotion is higher. So this way they were having great arguments. So finally, the Mahapuranas, 18 Mahapuranas came to conclude, and 6 Satvata Puranas, 6 Puranas in the mode of goodness actually established the supremacy of devotional service. So in this way, the supremacy of devotional service was established very wonderfully in Brihad Bhagavatamrta. And devotion is greater than liberation. Superiority of devotion above knowledge and renunciation. Through that discussion, it was established that devotional service is superior to knowledge and renunciation. If somebody thinks that knowledge is greater than devotion, then he is mistaken. If somebody thinks that renunciation is greater than devotion, then it's a mistake. Devotion is the highest. Once there was a question, somebody asked Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, whether renounced people, those who are renounced, they are situated on spiritual platform. Then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's reply was that those who are fruitive and those who are renounced, both are on the material platform. Even the renunciates are not on the spiritual platform. Only the devotees are on the spiritual platform. Why? Krishna bhakta nishkam ataev shantu bhukti mukti siddhi kami shakali ashantu. Those who are aspiring for liberation those who are aspiring for material enjoyment, those who are aspiring for yogic perfection, they all are on the material platform because they are full of material desires. Only devotee is free from desire. And so that point has been very nicely established there. The devotional service is superior to knowledge and renunciation. And as I mentioned the other day, that knowledge and renunciation are actually two sons of Bhakti Devi. So when one practices devotional service, he automatically gets knowledge and renunciation. Knowledge and renunciation automatically come to him. The superiority of devotion above knowledge and renunciation, description of 8 coverings of universe. Gopkumar's devotion increased after hearing the story of devotion, and due to the direct instruction of the Lord, he went to Vrindavan. The Lord actually told Gopkumar to go back to Vrindavan. So he went to Vrindavan. That we'll describe tomorrow, and how in Vrindavan he met spiritual master again, and the spiritual master gave him further directions on the mantra. So today, here ends the second chapter of Brihad Bhagavatamrta by Srila Sanatana.
You were speaking earlier about how we just stick to the process of chanting Hare Krishna, then we'll be able to transcend all experiences short of the local Vrindavan.
All what?
All experiences, material and spiritual, short of attaining the local Vrindavan. So it seems that's the main glory of this story. Gopumar's attainment. We read in places like the benefit of circumambulating the temple, or that misunderstood that travel, or starts with circumambulation to be for death. So my first question is, we're not physically doing the same thing here in any way, having these experiences. So how are we actually being brought up through the same approach that has so many experiences in this lifetime, to the point where we can lead desire Krishna to love Krishna? My next question, how much should we identify with Gopkumar, and how much should we not see that we're not in the exact same position? In other words, is he...
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, try to make the... I understood your point. I'll try to answer the question. The first question is that we go through different experiences. I mentioned that we go through different experiences. Krishna will fulfill different experiences to bring us. I mean, if we follow the process of Krishna consciousness faithfully, then ultimately we'll be brought to the platform of pure devotional service. And was there any question, or it was just a statement? The first point that that's a statement, and actually this story is describing how that's actually happening, like gradually. And the second question is, to what extent we should identify ourselves with Gopkumar? The answer to that will be that the safest way to tread the path of devotional life is to hold the lotus feet of other Vaishnavas on our head and not try to imitate or think that we are as good as them or superior to them. Like for example, when we hear about the Pandavas, we do not think that we are the Pandavas. Right? We know that they are the devotees and they are Mahajans, and our business is to follow them. Similarly with Uddhava, with the residents of Vrindavan, like we don't actually imitate anyone. We become situated on our own individual position, and from there we try to take advantage in the form of the mercy of the other Vaishnavas. So, my answer to that will be, our business is to just pray to Gopkumar that we can receive his mercy so that we can become engaged in serving Srila Prabhupada. As a devotee, we don't really want to become situated on the most elevated platform. As a devotee, our business is to become Srinada Krishna. Let's try to become smaller than the smallest. The more we develop this attitude of becoming smaller than the smallest, the more we will make spiritual. And someday, like if we are elevated to heavenly planet, then we know how to behave there. Right? So that's how we have to follow the footsteps of the Maharaja. That when you go to heavenly planets, you think that this place is not meant for my self-gratification. Our Acharya, Gopkumar, he behaved in this way. Right? He did not indulge in all the enjoyments of and the opulence of the heavenly planet. He was simply interested to serve Upendra, who is directly receiving the worship from Indra.
You're saying that Gopkumar saw four commandments transform into Vishnu forms. I always understood that the four commandments are jiva souls, and I understood the jiva souls have to do these things. So I was just wondering, what's the situation?
Well, Sanatana Goswami said, so we have to accept. I mean, there are two sides of it. One is, there's in perfected when one attains perfection in Ashtanga Yoga system, then one can actually see the super soul within and without. Right? So what they did is they transformed they actually made him develop that vision by their mercy. Just by touching, just by blessing him, they allowed him to come to that platform where he could see the Lord within and without. And after all, the Lord is there in everyone's heart. So instead of seeing the Jiva soul, one may even see the Lord instead of the Jiva soul. And that's what was happening in his case.
So it's not that they became Vishnu,
no.
Or they are Vishnu.
No. They're Shaktavesh all the time.
In Chaitanya, where Chaitanya appears in three different ways. One of the ways is the Vesh, which powers a certain devotee, and mind delivered throughout the country of the Supreme Personality of God. Also, the Kumaras, I understand that their incarnations towards Jnana Shakti, powered Jnana Shakti. So,
yeah, that's the perfection of meditation. Yeah, Hansu Prabhu.
Are we to understand that Gopkumar pure devotee from the starting point, or is it that going through the different stages of developing and unfolding his relationship with Krishna? Because you said that he had a desire in the heart to be India, must have, but then he qualified by saying, but he had the desire so that he could worship Krishna in that particular position.
Yeah. You see, Gopkumar, yes, first let me answer this one. Yeah, Gopkumar is a pure devotee because his spiritual master is a pure devotee. And whatever Gopkumar was going through, that doesn't make him any less a pure devotee. Because a pure devotee is the one who maintains a mood of detachment, anna bhilashita shunnam. He is free from any other desire, which was very prominent in Gopkumar from the very beginning. He didn't have any other desire but to serve Krishna and chant his holy name, chant the mantra. And then, but still, there are heaps, like one can say that there are heaps of, karmic accumulation of karma since so many lifetimes. So we have to understand that in spite of being situated on the pure devotional platform, one will have to go through different phases. Regarding that, we must remember, Prabhupada often used to say that all his disciples, all the devotees of ISKCON are actually pure devotees. And he said, it's like a green mango and a ripe mango, right? So somebody may be green now, but if he stays in the tree, then in due course of time he will become ripe. Similarly, the process is pure devotional service. The spiritual master, pure devotee spiritual master gave us the process of pure devotional service. Now if we pursue that process, although we may be green now, we may be impure now, but in due course of time, we will become purified.
I have one more question. Now we see that in the dealings with the demigods, there are all kinds of discrepancies. Not discrepancies, but they wonder, like they make offense. But they always address these things very, I would say, intelligently, or very, very practical. They make some adjustments and things go on. Sometimes nature becomes very tired. But we often observe that in the society of the devotees, sometimes the devotee will, somebody will come offense. And then the devotee will be it'll be, he's finished, God. And then a whole barrage of, I'd say, almost ill will, I guess you'd say, or sometimes almost like people that were unpleasant, that guy is gone. And so, this kind of, in other words, they trash that poor guy, or girl, So, can you comment on that?
Yeah, that's because we are on the earthly planet. And on top of that, in the age of Kali, right? So where envy is very, very prominent. Whereas in heavenly planet, higher actually we go, this envy reduces. So the demigods, although they are into enjoying sense gratification in a very intense way, but they are not envious. To that degree. There is a certain degree of envy, of course, there. But they are not so envious. They recognize the qualities of others. Actually, envy means not when we are blind towards others' qualities. And we try to see all the qualities in ourselves. Like we are simply concerned about our glory, our greatness, our qualities. But we are blind towards others. But when the veil of envy is removed from before our eyes, then we begin to see our defects and the glory and qualities of others. And when we develop that attitude, like for example, when Indra left, they didn't start to compete with each other who would become Indra. But they were actually they realized the importance of having an Indra. But they were looking for a qualified person. They didn't start to fight. But can you imagine if it happened on an earth planet? The king disappeared, then the generals, ministers and all would start to fight with each other to take over the position. But in heavenly planet, it didn't happen like that. Yes?
The first part, fourth chapter, here it is mentioned. The parents and the parents.
The first part, fourth chapter, here it is mentioned.
The parents and the pastor of Lord Shiva was mainly due to his mercy upon the demigods to deliver these two associates.
Yeah.
What are the associates?
Joy and Vijay. Prahlad Maharaj is saying, the Nishingadev's pastimes were not to bestow his mercy upon him, but to deliver his two associates. Now who are those two associates? That's the question. Joy and Vijay. Who became Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. Yes, Shesha Prabhu?
We've always heard that perhaps desires Krishna will fulfill him, so he doesn't have to please with pure devotion, because pure devotion gives himself to against some desire. But here, Gopkumar apparently had these desires, and he said Krishna's fulfilling them as a progressive steps back to God. So what's the difference?
I hope I got the question right. So if my answer is not appropriate, please let me know. There is a basic difference between one individually desiring something, or there is some subconscious or latent desire that the individual cannot really detect, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead sitting in the heart, He can detect it and He fulfills that. Like for example, like a pure devotee does not desire that I want this, I want that. But at the same time we see that he is, something is happening to him in course of natural arrangement. Right? Now we have to understand that this is Krishna's arrangement. As soon as a devotee surrenders unto Krishna, then Krishna takes full charge of him. And Krishna directs him. So whatever happens has two sides. Either the devotee had the desire, latent desire somewhere in the depth of his heart, or Krishna put him in that position to accomplish certain mission. Yes.
And following up that, it's sort of like the purpose behind the desire also. Like in the case with Gopkumar, he was thinking, I want to be able to worship the Lord like this also. So therefore, in order to do that, he had to take a position.
That's true, yes.
The other example would be like with Maharaja, he only wanted to take the sweet rice.
Yeah, very good point.
And because he felt he made a offense, he only just thought that he ran away, but the Lord arranged it.
Right.
Anyway.
Right. Yeah, that's a very good point. A devotee's desires are always Krishna conscious. Yes.
This is a more clear way of asking what I was asking. So the devotee stays in this position.
Maybe there is a clear way of asking what
Yes.
he was asking before.
So the devotee stays in this position. Prabhupada says he will go back to Godhead in one lifetime. So what are the subtle ways or the internal effects that take place within inside the devotee that makes him so experienced and advanced that he becomes transcendental to all the material and spiritual experiences read about, so he is qualified to go back to the Lord just after leaving this body.
Right. Why just after leaving this body? Actually, from the third chapter of first part, from Lord Shiva's statement, we understand that these devotees, even when they are on this platform, on this planet, they are actually transcendental. And the example Sanatana Goswami gives is an iron rod in fire. Like apparently it seems that he is on the material platform, he has a material body and so on and so forth. But actually that body is also spiritual. That's the potency of pure devotional service. And as long as he has the body, he renders service to Krishna with that body. And then when nature allows him to give up this body, become free from the bondage of the body, then he goes back to Goloka. So a few more minutes I can take also. I'll make another example and to clarify that point. What actually happens is a living entity has two aspects of his existence, two material aspects of his existence. The gross material aspect and the subtle material aspect. Gross material body and the subtle material body. The gross material body is a gift of nature. And it has certain longevity, certain lifespan, which has been awarded by nature, and individually he doesn't have any control over that. It is entirely up to nature. Say roughly 100 years. Right? But he can work on his subtle body. And that is, he can transform his mind from material to spiritual. He can transform his intelligence from material to spiritual. And he can transform his false ego into his spiritual identity. By Mana Bhavo, Mad Bhakto, by thinking of Krishna all the time, he can transform his mind into spiritual. Then Teshang Shatato Yuktanam Bhajatam Kriti Purvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. By being constantly engaged in devotional service, he can transform his intelligence into spiritual. So in this way, when the mind and intelligence are spiritualized, right, what happens to the false ego? The false ego naturally becomes spiritualized. So his subtle body is already spiritualized, right? Or he is free from the subtle body already. But he has the gross body. So at that time, he uses the gross body simply in Krishna's service. And when the time comes, when the material nature says, okay, go, right? Actually, death means the material nature releases us from the bondage of this gross body. And if at that moment, when he comes out of the material body, gross body, then he doesn't have anything material. His identity is actually spiritual. So with that spiritual identity, he goes back to the spiritual sky. So, okay, last question.
You know the story of Indraloka and Swami Indra?
Yeah.
I've always been discovered a little cloudy to me exactly how Indraloka is a demon, right? And yet at the same time great devotee.
Yeah.
And he's fighting with Indra, and maybe it applies to what you explained, how someone transforms his devotee.
Yeah, it was due to the curse. The curse of Parvati, that he became a demon. Chitraketu became a demon, Vritrasura. But although he was cursed and became a demon, but at the depth of his heart, he was a devotee. Right? Therefore, his position actually was greater than Indra's position.
So that is I would say, essence of that.
That's, yeah.
That's what I thought, that's why.
Hare Krishna.